folks, it's me, Emily. This is the first in a new series that Great Outdoor Store is going to be doing. It's a series in which we explore some of our national parks, state parks, and other outdoor spaces. And I'm going to talk to some experts on the areas, and we're going to start with our own staff. We have a lot of great resources within our staff, so we're going to take advantage of some of those. So, here's to episode 1 of In Two Camp Chairs with Emily. I would like to invite my first guest to join me. It is Israel Parsons.
Oh. Hey, how's it going?
Nice to see you.
Just dropping in for a LaCroix and a talk today.
Thanks for being here. Cheers.
Cheers.
Into Camp Chairs.
Into Camp Chairs. This is going to be fun. This is going to be lots of fun.
This is going to be fun. I can't really see you around this large tree.
This little thick tree.
Let me just move forward here. So Israel, some of you may know and some of you may not, had the good fortune of growing up in close proximity to one of our favorite places to visit in the state, and that is Custer State Park.
Yeah, Custer State Park.
Yeah.
I grew up about 5 miles out of Custer.
Mm-hmm.
Custer's a super pretty area. Southern hills, really dry, nice and green during the summer.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was going through a drought for a while, but now I think it's out of the drought season. So, it's super nice out there. Really fun. Lush. Yeah, that's a good word to describe it, lush.
So your backyard was essentially the perimeter of the park, is that right?
No.
Oh, okay.
My backyard was National Forest, so
Okay.
the Black Hills National Forest. And I grew up, 5 miles out of town. My backyard, I was very fortunate to have as a really cool place to just kind of go explore, have fun. And yeah, it was just a good place to grow up for sure.
Easy access.
Yeah.
So your family had kind of a fun tradition growing up, specifically for your birthday. Will you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so May 31st is my birthday. I'm not mad at all those people that didn't wish me a happy birthday, but I mean, I'm a little bitter, but I'm just joking. So May 31st, we would always go camping. It started, I don't know when it started, but it was just a fun little tradition where we would go out May 30th and 31st and camp for a little bit. We would go into Custer State Park a lot, so we would either camp at Center Lake or Bismarck, just car camping, and that was lots of fun. So we would just the whole family. So I'm the youngest of 4.
Yeah.
And
the baby.
we would all go out and just enjoy it. So it was a good family time for sure.
Did you always want to do that for your birthday? Was that your pick?
I mean, I probably started off wanting to do it, but as it went on and on, I think it just became a tradition where necessarily I didn't want to all the time, but I always enjoyed it once we got out there. Like I would be like, I don't want to go camping, I want to have a party, but eventually I was like, yeah, this is fun, this is awesome.
Is the best.
So
we have a saying in our family called forced family fun.
Yeah.
And it sounds like maybe it's a little bit of that sometimes.
It was that a little bit, yeah. Yeah. If my dad's watching, he knows, or my whole family knows, like, yeah, if we want to do something, or if my dad wants to do something, we're going to do it.
You all do it.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, growing up so close to such beautiful outdoor spaces.
Yeah.
How did your view, you got to sort of age with the park, how did your view of Custer State Park, of maybe even the National Forest land, how did that change as you got older?
Yeah, so like growing up, I grew up from really obviously being born in the Black Hills and then all the way up into my graduating year of high school. I saw a lot of the Black Hills change. So when I was in elementary school, it was really green. There was not a lot of bug kill. But then getting into middle school and high school, there began to be a little bit more bug kill. The Rocky Mountain pine beetle came through and just really made the whole Black Hills look brown. So it was the brown hills instead. And it was just kind of sad just to see that. But that's the natural way of the forest. It kind of just dies and then it'll regrow.
Yeah.
So right now I think it's in the regrowth where a lot of the pine beetle kill is still standing or have fallen by now, and little trees are coming up to replace it. So in 2030, I don't know, I'm not much of a forestry guy, but in a few years it'll be back to being really green and really pretty. So.
Yeah. It's interesting to be that close to the ebb and flow of that growth, because I feel like you maybe don't notice it as much in town or growing up in Sioux Falls or whatever, wherever. So it's cool to see over a long period of time all those forest changes.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, for my birthday also, I kind of recreated my tradition.
Did you?
We went back to the Badlands. We went to the Badlands. We didn't go back to the Black Hills, but me and my wife, and then we met my parents and my brother and sister-in-law
Fun.
there, and it was lots of fun.
I love that.
Yeah,
I didn't realize they all went with you.
Yeah, they met us. So they kind of just like showed up and we were like, whoa, this is awesome. So
look at us all here.
Yeah.
That's great.
It was super good.
Izzy turned 25 and he cut all his hair off.
Yeah, you might not recognize me because my hair is so short. It used to be really long. So.
He grew up.
Yeah.
So, if you had to tell folks at home what your favorite campsite was and your favorite hike, and like maybe a campsite, whichever you want, but maybe like one you wouldn't know about right away, you haven't heard about, like coming from a local, like what's the local tip for
so
campsite and hike?
A favorite campsite, so the campsite that we would always camp at, or would camp at a lot, was at Center Lake. Center Lake is just a great part of the hills. It's kind of central of the Custer State Park. Excuse me, LaCroix is kind of bubbly. But it's just a really pretty area, and then that lake is really nice and warm. Specifically, spot number 22 or 25, that's the best spot.
Nice.
In Center Lake.
Center Lake.
It's on the lower level, and it's right by Grace Coolidge Creek.
Okay.
And it was just awesome. It's a really pretty. So you have like that white noise at night when you're trying to go to sleep, but also
sets
just kind of secluded from all the other spots too. So
I love that. Okay, Center Lake spot 22 or 25.
Yep.
Campsite pick.
And then my number one hike, I would say that's not super known or kind of a hidden gem, if you will, is the Narrows. It's in Custer State Park. It's just I think it's on the southern end. I think that's what I said. But it's on the southern end. It's not really marked, and you hike through. You follow the creek. I think it's French Creek. I have my notes. Let me look at my notes. I don't have my notes. Oh. Nope, I don't have my notes. I think it's in French Creek. But it's a really pretty area. There's a part where you have to go through the water or over a cliff. Okay. And the cliff is like 60 feet tall, so I wouldn't recommend going up there. You kind of have to swim or wade through the water.
Okay.
You can backcountry camp back there. You just have to register. It's a great place to see wildlife, to see birds. You have to look out for poison ivy, but it's also a really good spot to just kind of get away. Oh, also fly fishing is really good back there too. Really, really neat area. So, yeah, and it's about, I think, 12 miles. Okay. 10 or 12 miles. And it's just a through. So there's two ways to get there. It's on Lame Johnny Road, kind of by Bluebell Lodge. If you need more information, you can always ask at the Norbeck Visitor Center.
Nice.
That has more information. You can talk to anybody in there, and they'll kind of point you in the direction of it, and let you know how to get to the Narrows and what to look out for, what to do. It's not a well marked trail though, but it's super pretty back there.
Cool.
So you kind of make your own trail.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
I would love to do that.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Sounds like we need to plan a trip.
Yeah.
We could. Is it like a staff trip maybe?
Yeah, I think we should just take a staff trip out there.
Yeah. Research.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so campsite, we picked Center Lake, 22 or 25,
Yeah.
and the best hike coming from Izzy, local expert.
Yeah.
The Narrows.
The Narrows.
I love it.
The Narrows. Super pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a little fly fishing too. Is that new?
Yeah. My brother has gotten into it, and hence I kind of gotten into it. He's taken me out a few times. It's just really, I'm not a super great fisher. Just sitting and waiting. I kind of want to get up and move around, so I'm not much of a shore shipper or shore fisher. So I would I prefer going to like little rivers or creeks and fly fishing a little bit more because it's a little bit more, you're more into it
A little more
rather
motion.
than just sitting there waiting for your bobber to go up and down. So
Cool.
yeah.
So you mentioned in that description a couple things that I think lead us to the next question.
Okay.
You mentioned some wildlife sighting and some poison ivy possibilities.
Yes.
So for maybe someone who's not super familiar with the Black Hills or who is planning on spending a little more time than they have before, what are some things that they should prep for in terms of weather, flora and fauna?
Yeah.
Like how do you get ready for a trip to the Black Hills?
Yeah. So I know South Dakota used to be known as the land of infinite variety. I always heard growing up that you wait 5 minutes and the weather's going to change. So in that 5 minutes, you could experience pretty much every weather pattern of every season. So you could have snow 1 minute, you could have rain 1 minute, you could have hail like crazy, or you could have really sunny, hot days also. So always being prepared for weather changes is a great practice to have no matter where you're at. I mean, anywhere in the mountains is kind of unpredictable with weather.
Fast changes.
So having like a rain jacket on hand and bug spray is always nice to have. Sunscreen, of course, sunscreen. I didn't really pay attention to that. I forgot sunscreen in the Badlands and I got a pretty bad redneck. So I'm not redneck, but I have a redneck.
First time being outside.
Yeah. Especially with the long hair. The long hair was a great
right.
sunblock, but
I didn't think about that.
forgot about it, so I paid for it. But yeah, just having all those prepared, being ready for anything is kind of the big thing out there.
Yeah.
Poison ivy, I kind of have to keep an eye out. No matter where you're at in the hills, there's different spots. The more you see more poison ivy, the closer you get to little waterways. So if you get close to a river or a creek, it's always smart to just rinse off your legs even if you didn't see any. I always do that whenever I'm crossing a creek. I just kind of go in with my chacos. Usually I'm hiking in chacos out there, and I just rinse off my legs really quick just to make sure I'm not going to have poison ivy all over me, and then I don't involuntarily spread it to my face, to my arms, to my leg, or any part of my body. So that's always a good practice too, just to stay ahead of it and rinse yourself off. So and then animals, there are some dangerous animals, mountain lions. Always keeping being aware of your surroundings and looking up every so often is important. Also, rattlesnakes are in the Black Hills too. You kind of have to keep your eye out for those. You'll most likely hear them, but just to be aware and just be ready for anything.
Yeah, definitely. Be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
And that's probably like you've mentioned with some of the other things. That's a great tip for any
any
outdoor space that you're in. Yeah, for sure. There's one animal we didn't talk about that you told me kind of a funny story about, and that is buffalo.
Yeah, buffalo are pretty scary.
But your family had like kind of a fun, a fun buffalo
very
tradition.
Unorthodox, but fun. So Sundays growing up, in Custer State Park, they have a pretty big herd of buffalo. We would go to the local grocery store, Lynn's Dakota Mart. It's kind of like a Hy-Vee, just smaller scale, and only in the Black Hills. But we'd go there, get our fried chicken, and go out in our little minivan and go have lunch with the buffalo. So we'd go on the wildlife loop, and we'd just kind of drive up to the herd and have our chicken with the buffalo. It was,
doors wide open, right?
Sometimes we'd open our doors. My mom wasn't super happy about that, but it was a fun time. We never got out of the vehicle, and we were always aware that they were wild animals.
Right.
And you have to be cautious and
cognizant of that.
Yeah, and just like really respectful of them. They respect your space, so give them their space. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a fun anecdote. We don't recommend getting close to buffalo.
Yeah.
But I love the image
when you're in
of
a
your
vehicle,
whole family eating fried chicken near the herd.
Yeah. It was fun. It was lots of fun.
Another instance of your dad wanting to do something?
Yeah. That was kind of just Bob just like, oh, let's do it.
We're going to do it.
So we did it.
A great tradition.
Yeah. It was super fun. So
I think you just highlighted you know, being respectful of being in someone else's space, be that an
Mm-hmm.
animal, even, you know, plant life,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
What about, I'm wondering, you know, like you were a permanent resident of
A
tourist town,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what it was like. What's your perspective on living permanently in a place that gets a crush of visitors in the summer? Was that fun? Was it exciting? Was it irritating?
All of the above.
Yeah.
If there was a D answer, that would be all of the above. I would circle
That's
D.
it.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed growing up in Custer, growing up in a tourist town. It was fun, having kind of that different view of people. So it wasn't just the same people over and over and over again. During the summer, you just see people from all over the country and the world, which is really cool that something's like such a small town has all those cultures come together.
That level of diversity.
But it was frustrating at points. I had a bad taste in my mouth with tourists just because I lived in that town, lived in a tourist town. And anywhere, you can ask my wife, anywhere that I go, I try not to be a tourist. I just try to blend in as much as possible because I know how those people in that town perceive tourists. So when I go places, I try to be respectful of the town's rules, of just the way that they're living, and try to make it as normal as possible for them. Whether that be the way I'm driving, I try to just fit in as well as I can driving. In Custer, our main street has parking on both sides, but it's only kind of like
they're like
a parking lot where they're angled a certain way, and you can only go one way and park in that spot. The same way with Custer's downtown is you can only park on one side if you're going a certain way. But a lot of tourists, they would see a parking spot on the other side of the road, and they would just pull a U-turn and kind of stop traffic, and is disrespectful and kind of annoying as a resident of that town.
Totally.
Usually it takes like 5 minutes to get across town, where if somebody did that, maybe it would take 10 minutes. Double your time. I mean, 10 minutes.
Doubling your commute is... Yikes.
10 minutes to get across town. It's the worst.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just like one thing that I learned growing up, and just being respectful of the people that do live there is a big thing. So
I think whenever you're going into an outdoor space or a town nearby or whatever, it's never a bad thing to recognize that you are a guest.
Yeah.
That you are experiencing someone else's space.
Yeah.
Right?
And being a tourist isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's just being a bad tourist is a bad thing.
Right.
So don't be a bad tourist.
Good advice.
PSA.
Very good advice. So my next question is, you know, growing up with all of this easy access to wild spaces, how did that inform your view of, how has it informed your view of other wild spaces?
Yeah.
So you had ample opportunity to get out, and then when you went to the next park, maybe a larger park, I know you've gone on a couple large trips.
Yeah.
How did that impact the trip that you took?
So that impacted my trip a lot, or my view of those other places a lot, because growing up in the Black Hills, I kind of took that for granted, and it was like, oh, this is just kind of the Black Hills, blah, blah, blah. Like doing the same trails over and over. But growing up, I think that just like gave me a really big want to go other places and see bigger mountains or bigger places. So whether that be Rocky Mountain National Park, Joshua Tree, even the Badlands, like going places that are super different, and just being able to appreciate those things, those other views or other places is a really big thing for me, and just not taking it for granted is a big thing too. So appreciating it for the differences that everything has. So I don't know if that really answered the question. I don't think it really did.
No, I think it did. You appreciate those places more because of the experience you had growing up. And did you feel like it prepared you well for the next places?
Yeah,
like,
I think it definitely did.
Yeah.
I mean, the Black Hills is pretty small scale, but you do still run into different things of, oh, I forgot my rain jacket. Next time I should not forget this.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot sunscreen in the Badlands. Next time maybe I should bring sunscreen and double check if I have brought sunscreen. So, yeah.
Yeah. It prepped you well then.
Yeah. Yep. And I think the outdoors is just a great place to learn. It's a good school, if you can call it that, just to like teach you more skills in life, whether that be preparedness or whether that be just enjoying other places and respecting other places and respecting other people. I think is a big thing too.
Absolutely.
So
that's great.
Yeah.
So I think my final question for you. Well, okay, actually, I've got two questions.
Two
left.
questions. Okay.
One of them, which is very important, and I almost forgot, is where should you eat?
When
you go to the Black Hills?
Yeah.
Because we all need to know.
Yep. There's two places
to get the best food.
Two places that come into mind instantly, and one is in Custer, one's in Hill City. Both small towns, but they have pretty good food.
Okay.
For how small the towns are. So the first is Hill City. If you want more of a fancy dinner or lunch, I like their lunch menu. Their lunch menu is a lot of sandwiches. I'm a sandwich guy. But they also have the best potato salad ever.
Ooh.
And super good desserts.
Important.
Yeah, which dessert is the best part. So that place is called the Alpine Inn. It's really good food. Reasonably priced too. I always get the Monte Cristo, and for dessert I get the Napoleon, very French.
Fantastic.
So it's super good, and also I always get potato salad, or I steal my mom's potato salad. Sometimes she gives it to me, and I'm like, yes, it's the best.
Double.
So yeah, that's number one. Number two is in Custer. If you just want a quick burger. Most of the time during the summer you have to wait just because they are really good burgers. When I was in high school, I think they were voted #1 burger in the nation by TripAdvisor.
Wow.
Not sure if they still are. But yeah, that just
nation.
Yeah, in the nation, small town Custer has.
What's it called? Tell us the name.
Black Hills. Oh yeah, that was suspenseful. I was really giving everybody suspense.
That was a lot of hype.
It's called Black Hills Burger and Bun, and you can't miss it if you're driving down Custer's Main Street. You'll see it on the side of the street. There will be people lined up out the door. That's how you know it's really good. Oh, I just thought of a third place.
Oh.
This one's more of kind of a little bit fancier. It's called Skogan.
Okay.
Super nice and tasty food too, and it's downtown Custer also. So Custer has two really good ones.
Two good
I would say
choices.
per capita, Custer has some of the best restaurants.
Wow, that's
per
a
capita,
bold statement.
Per capita, because there's only 1,500 people living there. So
there's only 15 people that live there.
1,500. But yeah, that's a good place too. So.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
3 restaurants.
Yeah.
Good picks.
3 of them.
I'm hungry.
Yeah.
So that brings me to my last question then. I think we work in the outdoor industry, obviously. We've got a whole pile of coworkers who also work in the outdoor industry. And I think for me and for most of us, what keeps us going back to outdoor spaces, what keeps us looking for new spaces to explore, is there's a certain like wild magic about each space.
Yeah.
And I think it's that thing that you just have a moment where you realize how miraculous the place you're in is. Like there's a specific kind of flavor to each one, and there's so many places to discover, and they all have a unique vibe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering for you what the wild magic of Custer State Park or of the Black Hills generally.
Yeah.
What you would say that is for you.
So naturally the wild magic of Custer specifically, it's my hometown. It's the place that I grew up. It's where my parents are still at. It's where my brother and his wife are at. It's a great place to go and visit. So that's one of the things. It just like it feels like I'm going home, which I am going home. But it also feels just like so welcoming and refreshing to go back to that place.
Yeah.
It's a great place to kind of rediscover who I am and just to be a kid again. I think the outdoors does that a lot. My brother and I were talking about it when we were in the Badlands. That was weird.
The Badlands.
Yeah, Badlands. But just, it brings out the kid in you. Outdoors just bring out kind of a naivety to the world where you're just like, you're just happy and you're excited to do things. You are goofy when you don't even know how to explain why you're goofy. So I think that's one thing that the Black Hills has too, that it just brings me back to childhood and brings me back to just simpler lives. And it's just awesome to go back and enjoy that simple little home feeling. So
totally.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Because the outdoors makes you better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel the same way.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the magic.
The wild magic.
Yeah.
That's great.
Cool.
Well, do you have anything else that you want to slip in about the Black Hills for our folks at home?
It's a great place. Beautiful place. And you can't go wrong by just taking a weekend trip. Or it's only 6 hours from Sioux Falls. Really close. You can just get out there in one day and see everything. You could even make a day trip. I mean, it would be quite a drive for a day trip, but you could go out early in the morning, get a hike in, go get food, come back. You could do it in a day. It would be kind of a push, but it would be a fun little adventure too. So, or you go for a week. There's lots of things to do out there.
Totally.
So, yeah. Yep.
Make it your own trip.
Yeah.
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 Well, Izzy is at the store, obviously. So if you have any specific questions that we didn't get to today, we could always, call us, stop down.
Yeah.
We've got an expert on our hands. So.
Yeah. And I might do a write-up about the Narrows or something like that.
I think that'd be really
I'll
cool.
definitely flash some photos on while I'm explaining the Narrows.
Yeah.
Or you already saw them because you're watching this film. So the Narrows are super pretty.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, that is the end of our inaugural episode of Into Camp Chairs with Emily, and today with Izzy.
Cheers. Who's
pal.
next week?
Tune in next time. We are going to be talking to our very own Nancy about a place that she loves and has some great tips on.
Sweet.
The Grand Tetons.
The Grand Tetons.
I'm
super
excited about
pretty.
that.
Super pretty.
She's taking some great trips. So
Yeah. That's awesome.
Thanks, folks.
See ya.